It's Dragon Keeper 19600 here, and it's been a long time, hasn't it? Oh, yes, I'm sorry for keeping you waiting as long as I did, but my exams came up, and I was gonna do Graybles 1000 plus on time. I actually saw it right when it came out, so I was like, yes, I'm gonna get ahead with these reviews, and then I waited like months, and now season 6 is over, and I haven't finished it. But I'm here now, so let's talk about Graybles 1000 plus, and I don't want to dilly anymore or apologize anymore because this episode was huge, and there's a lot to talk about it. Now, you guys have probably seen the finale already, and you guys know stuff that I don't, so some of the things I speculate on are going to be stuff that's confirmed, and a lot of it's probably going to be wrong, but let's talk about it anyway. So this is another Grable episode, and this one is a little different because, first of all, we know for a fact that Cuber, the storyteller, definitely exists within the diegetic world of Adventure Time. Like before, it was kind of a thing. Like, is he actually canon? Does he really exist? Is it like a parody? No, he's real, and he exists way in the future, which is something some people have speculated on anyway. And in this one, he isn't just placidly in his spaceship like he's hosting a kid show. It's like he's on the run and like he's actually going through his own adventure and such. By the way, the bit where Cuber crashes his ship into the wedding and the bride slides out and spins into space, that made me laugh really hard the first time I saw it. It's black comedy. He probably killed that person, but it was just the animation. Let me talk about the animation though in this episode for a second, because it's kind of nice. There's one bit in particular I like where the groom is sending the other guys to shoot Cuber down, and if you look, the platform that he's on is slowly like turning up, really slowly, which makes sense because it's space, and stuff doesn't stay still in space. So that was a nice detail right there. Um, and yeah, this. So Kuber says at the beginning of the episode, after we've already seen one Grable, that there isn't going to be a theme. If you thought that he was lying when he said that, you are correct, because Kuber was. I don't know if he did it on purpose or if it's the thing about the Graybles. We learn more about the Graybles, but it gets in that minute. The theme for this episode was Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is basically a pyramid thing. If you've ever read The Fault in Our Stars, then you know about this already. It's a thing that Maslow came up with where, like, you have to satisfy one core of needs before you can meet the next one. So, like, it basically it was criticized in The Fault in Our Stars by Hazel because she said that it basically says that poor people can't think about profound things. Because anyway, what it is that the bottom ring is physiological needs. The second part of the pyramid is safety. After that is love, then self-esteem, and then self-actualization, which is creativity and acceptance of facts and basically becoming a complete person. So all 5 of those steps of the pyramid, and again, according to the pyramid, you have to satisfy one before you can move on to the next one. In the first Grayble, baby Cuber, who was adorable by the way, says that the cave air is good for his physiological needs. In the second Grayble, that was the one with Finn bearing the thought cannon. He says we have to bury it for safety. That's the second tier. Third tier is love, and that was the brief one with Ice King, and he says, I love you, Gunter, but I'm onto your business. The fourth one was self-esteem, which Starchy says that having a nice rare gives him self-esteem. And the fifth one was self-actualization, where Tuber drops, like, helps Cuber save himself, self-actualization. Now, I'm not sure if the Graybles actually follow the theme or if it's just that they're mentioned. Because, yeah, safety is a theme, but is love also, like, the theme around which the story is based? Because the story is that Gunter broke Ice King's leg, which is hilarious, by the way. By the way, I have seen the next episode, Hoots, so I know about that bit of Gunter biz. So, yeah, there's that. So, it's funny because in the last review I described the penguins like cats, and breaking your leg in the middle of the night isn't something I think most cats would do, especially not with a brick. But that was really funny. But I think Starchy's story is about self-esteem because he's tried for a long time to escape from Princess Bubblegum, become kind of his own thing. The Princess Bubblegum spying on everybody thing, the initial reaction is, oh, Princess, you said you were going to stop doing that. But if you look at the t-shirt she's wearing, it's the bunny t-shirt from Jake the Brick where he was doing the radio show. That episode took place before the cooler. So it's still possible to think that Princess Bubblegum still isn't spying on people anymore. It's just that that takes place before that happened. Like, it makes sense. Kuber's using the Graybles to look way back in the past, so it does. The Graybles that he looks at didn't necessarily happen in order. that we've been watching in the show. It could be jumped back to the point before. It's not like it runs simultaneously with the show's running time. About those Graybles, now that it's established clearly that these are definite objects in the Adventure Time universe, it seems to be that they're like, Cuber doesn't really know what the story's going to be, and it seems like it always relates to something that he's doing. Like, it tells him how to fix his broken leg, which was really funny, and something you should never try, by the way. And it shows him where the thought cannon is. I don't know if it, like, showed him where it was, or if it just relates to the situation, or if it, I don't know, but, like, when he says, remember your training, use your Graybles, it seems like the Graybles are supposed to be, like, a survival tool that they give you helpful things from the past. So everything's connected in Adventure Time. By the way, the thing about the thought cannon itself, it sort of reminded me what they said about wish magic way back in Evergreen, I think is what that episode was called. Was it called Evergreen? I don't remember. But the episode with Evergreen, where they're warning him that wish magic is a dangerous thing because you can't really understand what your deepest heart wants, and you might get something you're not thinking of. That's sort of, the thought cannon is sort of a milder version of that, where the fear is that an intrusive thought will get in the way. By the way, I love that they brought back, I need to stop saying by the way, but I love that they brought back the running gag with Jake in the sandwich. I think Adventure Time gets how to do running gags. Because, like, when Fairly Odd Parents does a running gag, it, like, picks one gag to use in one episode, and then it does it, like, every 3 minutes within that episode. Like, I remember the episode where Timmy's in the internet, and, like, every parent in Dimsdale has the battering ram. So, like, every scene a parent says, child's name here, they knock on the door, and then they say, hello, I'm respecting your privacy by knocking, but asserting my authority as your parent by coming in anyway, battering ram. And that would happen several times in the same episode. With The Simpsons, when they do running gags, they have, like, every time Sideshow Bob shows up, he always gets hit by a rake, every single time. So it's kind of gets old faster that way, but with Adventure Time, they know to, like, hold back on the gag and, like, only use it sparingly, so when it comes up, it's still funny, because it's been a long time since you've seen it. In this case, the gag being Jake needs to wish for something important, and he gets a sandwich instead. The fact that they brought that up, like, it's only been used a handful of times, but, like, any longtime viewer, or even not that longtime viewer, would be, oh, that sandwich thing, that's funny. So, it isn't brought up every single time Jake's on screen, which was what makes it work. What else? Oh, yes, the future. Okay. This is the first episode where Cuber leaves his ship and explores the future. And we've had a glimpse of the future of Adventure Time before in Lemon Hope, and it didn't look that great. But now we've gotten some clarity on why certain things are the way they are. First of all, the Candy Kingdom. We saw the bombed out, or what we thought was the bombed out Candy Kingdom in Lemon Hope, and I actually got in a huge argument with someone online for this because they kept insisting that the city had been wiped out in war, and I said, no, the storyboards say that the city is abandoned, not bombed out, so they might still be alive. And this person actually got so annoying about insisting that there was a war and that the various destroyed ships were warplanes, which they might not have been, that I had to block him because he was being a twat. But this episode confirms that I was right. They're still alive in the Prize Ball Guardian. And I think there have been a few shocking moments in Adventure Time. More than a few, but I think the one where Cuber bumps in the prize ball and opens it and Crunchy pops out is one of the moments when I went, what the fuck? So the candy people are alive, and they've been evacuated into this, into the Prize Ball Guardian, presumably in a state of animation until they can find a safe settlement again. And if you look, you don't see Princess Bubblegum, but Cuber and the two guys following him go through like an elevator to get in, and they go by a living area that looks like it's probably meant to house the princess. Because, like, it's, you know, big and central, and it's got couches, and there's a painting on the wall. Either a painting or a photo, I'm not sure, of the old candy castle on the wall. So, the Candy Kingdom is fine, the candy people are fine, they're just in suspension right now. And I should point out in the storyboards for this episode, when Crunchy pops out of the ball, one of the lines he says is, did it work? Which is a line that was cut from the episode, but that line implies that this isn't something Princess Wilgum forced the candy people to do. Like, this was an idea that they did at least somewhat voluntarily. So yeah. So judging by the site, I guess this is 1,000 years in the future, same as Lemon Hope. 1,000 seems to be kind of an arc number for not only the show but this episode, since the episode is Graybles 1,000 plus. So every 1,000 years we get one of those comets, and I understand the comet is the subject of the series finale, which I have not seen, so no spoilers. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think just picking a number and repeating it makes something seem profound, even when it's not. But it's kind of a nice pattern to tie the show together and make it seem more like a cohesive whole, instead of just a series of episodes about random shit. The next thing I want to talk about is the Ice Kingdom, and that thing flying by. It was only on screen for a second, but I remember the huge freak out that happened when everyone saw, like, what is that thing? Is that Simon? Oh, God. Betty didn't do it. She didn't fix him. It's like, hold on. We don't know that Betty didn't fix him. Calm your tits. Have we ever predicted anything accurately about Adventure Time? Ever. Ever? It's fine. I want to point out what probably a bunch of people pointed out by now, but the 3 diamonds on... the 3 little gems on the creature's head that correspond to the gems on the ice crown, one of them is missing. It's the one, I think, on the right of the screen. Anyway, the thing's nose blocks it, so you can't really... It's hard to see the hole it goes by, and if you pause it, you probably... Unless you pause it, you won't notice, but there is a jewel missing. Second thing you want to note is that in the storyboard for this episode, again, the Ice Kingdom is identified as the Ice Crowndom. So it's no longer ruled by a king, it's ruled by the crown itself. So I think that whatever Betty did to fix Simon, and I believe in Betty, it resulted in the crown gaining its own sentience. I'm not sure if that's good or bad. The crown doesn't... The thing, if it is the crown, doesn't seem to be bothering anybody. It just swoops at Cuber as he passes by, but that's it. But we don't know. We'll have to wait and see if they reveal it in the future. So since they focused quite a bit on the future, I was sort of thinking that, there's a theatrical movie coming out eventually, and I was wondering if, maybe the movie will be about that future world. If maybe Finn or Jake will go 1,000 years in the future, or something. I don't know. It's pure speculation at this point. I don't know what the movie's going to be about. But, yeah, so I don't know if they'll reveal more about this, but there is one line Cuber says that I kind of like, which is, the present can be more interesting than the past. And I saw one person on Tumblr who predicted that as kind of a take that against people who want, a spin-off about the Mushroom War, who always want to know more about people's backstories. It's like, sometimes the backstory isn't what people want to focus on, and it isn't what's super interesting. And maybe the present is more interesting than the future, too. Maybe. What else? Oh, there's one line Cuber says when he finds the thought cannon of, where he digs it up and he says, "Bobble, bobble," as the dead might say. And, in the scene before when Jake says he's going to use the thought cannon to make a hole, and he says, "And bobble, bobble, there's a hole." So when he says, "like the dead might say," he means like Jake might say, which made some people cry, but it's like, Jake's obviously not going to live 1,000 years. Anyway, so, yeah. Cuber kind of comes across as an insensitive ass, and maybe this is just from the guy who looks at other people's lives for a living, it seems. I'm not sure how he can see the viewer. I never wondered about that. Is there a camera floating around him he's talking into? But, whatever. But maybe it's just from a guy who watches people from a third-person perspective for a living. Maybe he'd have a lack of empathy, because he didn't seem to care about the wedding he ruined, and, him being a hero just basically means not getting killed by the people who are justifiably mad at him, though that doesn't justify murder, but even so. And Cuber's a little bit of an asshole, but, he's likable, and he's pretty funny, and really, he fucked up, and I don't know where I'm going with this sentence, but yeah, Cuber's not a perfect saint, but nobody in this show is. That's one of the interesting things about it. So, starring Cuber 9600, again, sorry for being absent for so long. I'm gonna get through the rest of the season. I don't know if season 7 has even aired yet, but, I'm gonna catch up. So, I missed you guys too. It's good to be back. Starring Cuber 9600, signing off.